Today we're gonna look at my 5 favorite P5s right now. How's it going, guys? Travis from Tackle Bros, and today I thought it'd be cool to look at my 5 most used P5s right now. This is gonna be a revolving thing. You know, we might do this once a year, once every 6 months, but these are gonna be the 5 rods that I'm currently using the most, and I'm gonna rank them 5 to 1. Let's have a look at them. I'm gonna set these off to the side. So let's start with this. We actually use the stuff that we talk about. So these are all the rods that are currently in my rotation in the P5 lineup. I love the lineup. I love the rods. They're very sensitive. They're very crisp. I would say technique specific for the most part, but some little hidden gems can do a lot of everything. So with that, I'm gonna go 5 to 1. So number 5 is gonna be the one that's probably would get changed out first, and then number 1 is probably never leaving my boat. So let's get going with that. Okay, so something to keep in mind before I actually get into this. I don't live in an area where we crankbait a lot. I don't necessarily live in an area where we throw a crazy amount of swim baits. Now, do I have a ton of crankbait rods? Yeah, I definitely do. Do I throw big swim baits? Absolutely. But these aren't things that are currently going on up here anyways. And they're not gonna be going on for a little bit of time. We don't get that pre-spawn. We get kind of an immediate post-spawn. Sometimes we don't get any time in the spawn, so some of my techniques here are, well, all of my techniques are kind of gonna be focused on what's about to happen for us in what do we got here, Ash? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? 3 weeks before we can start going bass fishing, which is ludicrous. We spin out for about 3 weeks here. But going off the past, I do know what's should be kind of happening in and around my area, and that's why I've chosen these rods. I tangled these up. I don't know why I did it like this, but we're here now. Okay, so number 5 I'm gonna start with is going to be the BMG. This is a really cool rod. So this is a 7.5 F7, 7'5" F7. It's gonna have a fast power to it. It's a great jig rod. I am a pretty tall guy. I'm 6 foot, just shy of 6'3". I like a 7.5 jig rod. Gives me a lot more control to set the hook. Generally, when we're jig fishing, we're not fishing gigantic ledges or anything like that. Like we kind of flip docks and, you know, kind of bounce in and out of grass and shit like that. So I like this one for that. It's also actually not a bad little swim bait rod for some of them. I've done a lot of stuff on this rod, but the main thing for me with this is gonna be that, you know, 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce jig. That's kind of my go-to with this guy. I have it paired up with a Metanium right now, dual reel. Yeah, not much more to really be said about that one. Just you have to have a jig rod, and this is the current one that I've been throwing a lot more than anything else. Well, I used to throw a 904 a lot, but yeah, this one's kind of replaced it. So BMG is my number 5, and like I said, this would be the first one out of my rotation out of the 5 that I'm going to talk about today. Number 4 might be a shocker to you guys that it is not higher on the list, but it's going to be the P5 Windbuster. So this is going to be that F3.5, 7'2", so that medium powered spinning rod. Right now I have a tube tied on there. That's what we were doing in the St. Lawrence last time we were up. It works really good as a tube rod. It's also probably the best free rig rod you can possibly have. It's probably, if you like throwing those smaller dark sleepers, like that little 2.4 inch, this is an amazing rod for that. We also use this for throwing, you know, 3.3 to 3.8 inch K-Tex on little swim bait heads. It's just an ultimate versatile rod. I have this paired up with a 3000 size reel and 15 pound, I think I have 15 pound braid on here. Probably 15 pound braid. Like I said, ultimate versatility with this rod. It can do a lot of everything. That 7'2" medium spinning rod is kind of like that do everything. You want to throw a Ned rig on this? It's probably going to be pretty good at it. You want to throw a tube? It's pretty good at it. You can do most things that you can think of with a spinning rod on the Windbuster. So this one's gonna be number 4, and mostly because these other rods are kind of real deal special things to me. So number 4, the Windbuster. Yeah. Number 3 is gonna be a newer one for me, and it's actually a rod that I fell in love with because this technique is one of my favorite ways to catch them, no matter what time of the year it is, and that is going to be the Damos. So this is gonna be a F5 7'2", so this is like a medium plus, medium heavy rod. I use this for almost strictly swim jigs sometimes, but mostly chatterbaits. This is a 3/8 ounce chatterbait. This is from Bumblebee, probably my favorite chatterbait right now. This is gonna be in the narrow blade. I mean, this isn't really part of the thing, but you can see what we're throwing on there. This rod loads up amazingly. It can cast a mile. It's very sensitive, so the big thing with the chatterbait is you wanna be able to feel that blade going when it stops. You kinda know that you need to snap it off the grass, or you need to, set the hook because you have a fish. This relays all that to me amazingly. And one thing you're gonna notice with all these rods is cork. I am a huge cork fan. I do have Super Destroyers and I do have Mad Bulls. I like that carbon handle as well, but something about cork just feels so natural in my hands. I have this one paired up with a Steez SV, so this is gonna be a 7-1 gear ratio. I love this reel. I love that clicker drag, so if you're a fan of clicker drags, the Steez are phenomenal. Amazing reel, amazing rod, amazing combo. It's ultra light. I have it currently right now with 14-pound Sunline Sniper, and it's just an amazing pairing. For me, I want to stick with this rod with 3/8 and 1/2 ounce bladed jigs. So that's kind of my sweet spot anyway. I kind of live between that 3/8 and 1/2 ounce. You can do a lot more with this rod, but those are really my key things that I like to throw on this guy. It's also a good bottom contact rod. I've actually Carolina rigged on this before, and it didn't do too bad at it. So definitely check out the Damos. So my number 2 rod is a must-have in everybody's rod box. You guys all have some form of this. I used another rod for this technique for a very long time, and this one has taken over it. I was really hard to get off of it. I used it for a ton of years, a really old rod, and that's gonna be the Jerkbait Special. So this is gonna be an F4 611. F4 611. This is just amazing jerkbait rod. So I throw a lot of +1s and full size right now. At some point I will go into full junior mode and then we'll be using the stick. But for now, this is my guy. You have to have a jerkbait rod. There's also a pretty good topwater rod. When that starts to happen, I like throwing topwater on this, but you have to have a jerkbait, especially right now. It's catching more fish than it ever has. 110s are kind of the most badass jerkbaits of all time. And this is the rod that was made for it. So number 2 is Jerkbait Special. I have this paired up with, I think, 8-pound fluorocarbon right now. And then I have it on a Aldebaran. It's an older Aldebaran. I love this reel. I've had them forever. This is a 7-1 gear ratio. It just has that beautiful exact taper that you want for throwing a jerkbait. Or throwing a treble hook bait for that instance. Amazing jerkbait rod, amazing topwater rod. I think this one really excels in the full size 110 and the +1 110. Those are kind of my key sizes at the start of the year, and then everything will change going forward, but Jerkbait Special and the P5. Okay, so number 1, probably not a surprise to anybody. This is my all-time favorite Megabass rod of anyone's I've ever owned by far. I highly doubt this will ever lose its place. There is one in Japan that hopefully will come over and then we'll give it a shot, but that is gonna be the Fissa. So this is an F2.5, 7'6". This is gonna be that awesome, ultra finesse. So your spy bait rod, your hair jig rod, your, underspin rod. This rod for me, I have a hard time putting it down. I love the handle on this. I love how sensitive it is. It's a very parabolic rod, so it bends really deep into the blank, which makes it an amazing spy bait rod. And it's really hard to find good spy bait rods because you tend to lose a lot of fish on them if you're not using the correct one. The treble hooks are so small and you're catching big smallmouth, they're very aggressive. I will generally start out the season throwing spy baits on this. I have several of these. So I have one for a spy bait, I have one for a hair jig, and then sometimes we'll mix in that little underspin. If you're throwing, little swim baits, it's amazing for that as well, a little 2.8-inch K-Tex. It's a really good rod for that. This thing just excels in all things finesse. So if you could have one finesse rod from them, most guys are gonna think, grab a drop shot rod or grab something like that. This 7.6 medium light should be in everyone's boat at this point, or if you're a shore fisherman, I understand you gotta use something a little bit shorter, but try to get something in that parabolic medium light rod as long as you can get it. Get these small baits as far away from you as possible. You're just gonna get a couple more bites. I have this paired up with a 3,000 size reel. I currently have 7-pound braid on here to a 5-pound fluorocarbon leader. So this is finesse. You're not getting much more finesse unless you're going, 2-pound BFS trout stuff. That's cool, it's badass. But this is about as finesse as I get on spinning. This thing lives in my boat. This actually lives on my deck. It rarely gets put away. I don't think this thing's seen a rod sleeve. It's all beat up and scratched up. If I could only have one Megabass rod, maybe if I could only have one rod, period, it's gonna be the Fissa. So definitely check this out next time you're looking to get the ultimate finesse rod. And that's what it is. Now, Megabass makes a ton of really great rods. Maybe when we start getting into swim bait season or deep crank season up here, we can start busting out some of the other ones. I got a bunch of jig rods right now because I love flipping a jig when it starts to warm up, and we are about to be in full-blown jig season up here, which is amazing. We got about a month left, and I am antsy. So if you guys have any other questions about any other P5 rod, very, very well versed in all things Megabass, shoot me a message, shoot store a message, give us a call, whatever you want. We're here to answer your questions. So thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and we will see you later.